Hello book lovers! I'm a big fantasy reader and publishers have continued to go wild this year with special editions, particularly for Romantasy books. So I've had to cut out a lot of great books to stop this list getting out of control. Also, so as not to catfish you, fair warning that most of the science fiction books in the list this year are pretty heavily science fantasy. If you want to see all the beautiful special edition books published this year and upcoming for next year, I run a tracker on my website and I'll link that below so you can browse to your heart's content. And as usual, direct links to the books I'm showing in this video are included in the description box below if you need them, and I'll add in earlier volumes as well if it's a sequel. I've done a bit of thematic grouping here, so we're going to open with some cozy fantasy and books that are less cozy but based on familiar folklore elements. Juliette Marillier crafts her gentle fantasies from hidden forest moss and whispered songs. You should read everything she writes. Her latest novel, The Amber Owl, centres on Stasia, who lives in an isolated village on the edge of a vast forest called Heartwood, with a gift for communing with animals and an unusual pet for company, until soldiers and outside powers start pushing into her world. The special edition I'm showing here was put out by her Australian publisher, New Dawn, and it's got gold-sprayed page edges, foil-decorated boards and mapped end papers. The book works as a standalone, but there's a sequel coming out next year called The Hidden Way. In Swordheart by T. Kingfisher, Halla inherits an estate and her awful relatives immediately start circling like sharks in a shallow pond. She accidentally frees a warrior named Sarkis, who is literally bound to a sword. The ensuing road trip showcases an awkward, tender and funny relationship between our practical heroine and her grumpy immortal swordsman. I thought it was delightful. This book was originally self-published in 2018, but first printings of this year's Bramble hardback edition have turquoise sprayed page edges, a foiled sword stamped on the boards and illustrated end papers. There's a sequel coming out soon for this one too. I don't have a cover yet, but it's called Daggerbound. I actually am showing two Kingfisher titles here because I'm also recommending Hemlock Silver. I've read this as marketed as a Snow White reimagining, but it doesn't feel too much like that. Our main character is Anya, a healer who regularly drinks poison in controlled doses. She's co-opted to investigate a mysterious illness being suffered by the king's daughter, and her adventures follow on from there, leaning hard into unravelling mysteries and surviving creepy magic with a light touch of romance. And of course it's a dark fairy tale, so there's also a cool talking cat. First printings of the hardback edition have poison green sprayed page edges, a foiled mirror and quote stamped on the boards, and end papers illustrated by the author. Fun fact, lots of vintage books from the mid-19th century that have cloth bindings of this bright vivid emerald green colour were pigmented with arsenic, so those ones genuinely are poisonous books. The Enchanted Greenhouse by Sarah Beth Durst is a standalone follow-up to last year's Spell Shop. It's set in the same world but follows a different character. This is a warm, friendly hug of a book. At the centre is Turlu, a lonely, anxious librarian who breaks some rules and is banished to a magical island filled with lots of greenhouses and one grumpy gardener. The story also sets readers up well for her upcoming third book in this series, Sea of Charms. US first printings of the hardback have mint green sprayed page edges and sweet decorative chapter heading illustrations. Isabella Nagg and the Pot of Basil by Oliver Darkshire opens with Isabella living in a miserable medieval village on a tiny farm, eking out a tiny existence, just trying to survive the day-to-day grind, until a magic spellbook arrives to unleash some weird creatures, social satire, and emotional chaos. The thing I loved most about this one was the dry voice and deadpan humour. The story is inspired by John Keats' narrative poem Isabella or the Pot of Basil, which was itself adapted from a story in Boccaccio's Decameron, which is a pretty grim tale. The book works in references to other classic works like Andersen's fairy tales and Shakespeare and Kipling, which is fun. But despite the cute title and the cosy sounding village setting, I would put this in a dark, quirky, folklore-inspired bucket as it's more parody horror than cosy. There are also a lot of footnotes. Nikita Gill reimagines the Greek goddess Hekate as a girl born into war and a divine Titan versus Olympian conflict. She grows her power through trauma, isolation, and the dangerous beauty of the underworld. It's a slow, lyrical myth retelling in verse through a modern feminist lens. The US first print run and the Waterstones exclusive edition are particularly pretty, with gold foiled covers, wolves sprayed on black page edges, illustrated end papers, and a foiled stamp design on the boards under the dust jacket. I'm showing the Goldsboro edition here, and there's a Waterstones paperback exclusive with black page edges coming out soon. She's following this up with the Goddess of the River Styx next year, which also has a lovely edition planned, so I'll link that too. The Assistant to the Villain series by Hannah Mehra is basically a workplace rom-com that takes place in a fairy tale villain's lair. The protagonist is earnest and bubbly, and the villain is used to fear and obedience. I'm flicking through the fourth paperbook book in the series here, as the first printings of these have sprayed page edges, but if you're new to the series, they released a cool special edition hardback this year with a gilded cover, decorative sprayed page edges, illustrated end papers, and a map. Moving over to Magical Mysteries, A Drop of Corruption by Robert Jackson Bennett is the second book in the fantastic Shadow of the Leviathan Magical Murder Mystery series. The investigative duo, Anna and Din, have a Holmes and Watson rhythm in a world where magic system is essentially monster biology turned into tools and drugs. It's a clever combination of sharp political fantasy and imaginative police procedural. I can't wait for the next one. There aren't any special features for the standard edition, but both the US and the UK have excellent but different cover designs. Special editions were released by Inkstone Books and The Broken Binding if you're happy to hunt secondhand. And the first book's called The Tainted Cup, which I'll link below too. Alchemy of Secrets by Stephanie Garber starts with our main character sitting in a folklore class taught by the Professor in an old movie theatre. As she investigates some urban myths and magical prophecies, you just know they're going to turn out to be real, and the story gives a lovely sense of old Hollywood with secret societies and magic that hides in plain sight. It's a mystery quest story at heart, and overall a great mix of romance, folklore and urban fantasy. I'm showing the Goldsboro edition here, but there's a very similarly designed Waterstones exclusive with sprayed page edges. UK first printings have illustrated end papers and one of 4 hidden foiled case cover designs. And US first printings have an Art Deco foiled case stamp and black sprayed page edges. Turns of Fate by Anne Bishop is a dark-leaning urban fantasy that starts like a straightforward police inquiry. Detective Beth Fay is sent to Destiny Park on the edge of the Isle of Weird to ask the locals questions about a ghost gun. And then the story steadily deepens into something stranger. It's a solid start to a new series. Anne brilliantly characterises the thinking of magical species with such compellingly different worldviews. Her other series is also fantastic. No special features for this one either, I just really enjoyed it. Moving now to epic and high fantasy, where I'm sharing books with rich world building and intricate magic systems. The Book of Dust books expand Philip Pullman's His Dark Materials series by exploring Lyra's world from different angles and at different points in her life, with a tone that's more adult than the original trilogy. The Rosefield is the final book in the Book of Dust trilogy, and in it Lyra encounters spies and thieves and griffins and witches and old friends and new friends, all the while learning the surprising truths of the alethiometer. I'm showing here the Waterstones exclusive, which has got a slipcase, a foiled cover design, illustrated end papers and beautiful extra design details. The standard US hardback is also nice, with a foiled cover design on yellow boards and illustrated end papers, while the UK hardback has foiled stars on black boards, illustrated chapter headings and a quote on the spine. A Theory of Dreaming by Ava Reid is the sequel to A Study in Drowning that continues the same blend of literary gothic mood, folklore-soaked horror and magical romance. The story expands here beyond the personal with sharpening political conflict and questions about how stories are used by nations, institutions and ambitious people. First printings of the US hardbacks have a foiled case design, antique-style paisley patterned end papers and gorgeous bookshelf decorated page edges. Demon Daughter by Lois McMaster Bujold is a novella in the Penric and Desdemona series, which sits inside her world of the five gods. This is a setting where gods can nudge and guide, but humans still have to do the messy work. The Penric stories are mostly novella length. They're episodic adventures following a sorcerer whose magic comes with a permanent companion. Desdemona, the demon sharing his body, who carries the memories of multiple previous lives. The books are wry, humane, and cleverly explore ethics, bureaucracy, and faith. This particular title puts Penric and his demon at odds with each other as they have to decide the fate of a 6-year-old shipwrecked girl. Subterranean Press put out these lovely little hardback editions. The Inheritance by Ilona Andrews is the first book in a new Breach Wars series, a fast-paced, high-staked sci-fantasy where a future interdimensional invasion brought monsters and awakened talents in humanity. People who can fight back, raid breaches for resources, and keep civilization standing. Ada is a talent who's also a working mother who gets trapped in the labyrinth of alien caves with only a German shepherd to keep her company. Like all of their books, it's compulsively readable. I should disclose I'm such a fan I'd probably buy their grocery lists to read. And this one's the sort of book you'll stay up until 3 a.m. reading just one more chapter. It's got fascinating world building, compelling characters, and the dog doesn't die. Technically speaking, this paperback isn't particularly beautiful, apart from the lovely cover art. It's self-published, and the beautiful artwork's rendered internally in disappointingly tiny black and white pics. But I'm including some of the original colour artwork here just for you to enjoy. The City of Brass by S.A. Chakraborty is book one of the Daggerbound trilogy, deeply rooted in Middle Eastern and Islamic folklore. We start in 18th century Cairo with Nari, a clever con artist who survives by reading people, swindling the powerful and keeping her head down. When she accidentally summons a jinn warrior, she's dragged into the reality of Daggerbound, a legendary city of enchanted brass where ancient grudges, court politics and magical bloodlines can be deadly. When you fall in love with this world, there are 2 more books waiting for you, so I hope they continue to give the later volumes deluxe treatments as well. This special edition's got a reversible dust jacket, foil stamped boards, illustrated end papers and decorative sprayed page edges. And now it's time to move our fantastical imaginings to space as we look at sci-fantasy and science fiction. Red Rising by Pierce Brown is set in a class stratified future where lowborn Darrow gets thrown into the elite class as a weapon from the inside. It's brutal, fast and very intense Hunger Games dystopian. It's the first in a sweeping space opera rebellion that keeps escalating as the series continues. This special edition's really lovely with a foiled illustrated slipcase, wraparound bookcase art, decorative sprayed page edges, full colour end papers with a new map and a fold-out poster. Isles of the Emberdark is Brandon Sanderson doing his mythic adventure science fantasy magic with warring galactic superpowers set in the far future of his Cosmere world. It's readable as a standalone, but will probably be more deeply enjoyed by someone familiar with the Cosmere. I'm showing here the premium edition he sells in his own shop, which matches the rest of his special Kickstarter editions, but the standard edition will be out soon and it looks like that one will be illustrated too, and Waterstones will have an exclusive edition with sprayed page edges as well. This Is How You Lose the Time War by Amal El-Mortar and Max Gladstone is a novella that's best described as a time travel war story told through love letters. Two elite agents, Red and Blue, work for opposing powers across branching timelines, sabotaging each other's victories and reshaping history in mutually exclusive ways. They begin leaving messages for one another, first as taunts, then as flirtation, and eventually they start something more dangerous. It won major awards including the Hugo, Nebula and Locus for Best Novella. This deluxe edition has decorative sprayed page edges, illustrated end papers, and printed and debossed case art. Catching Fire by Suzanne Collins is the second oversized volume of her popular Hunger Games series to be illustrated by Nico Delort. It's tense and traumatic, and if you haven't read it in a while, and a new illustrated edition's a great reason for a reread, you might find it's politically sharper than you remember. LitRPG is a fiction genre that blends storytelling with game mechanics, with stats and quests and levels as part of the story. I think one of the best series to manage this style is Matt Dinnerman's Dungeon Crawler Carl series, and I'm showing the latest book 7 here. I'll add a link to my full series review below, I love it, but the basic setup is that the Earth is invaded and the only way to survive is to win a televised dungeon crawl game show. It's chaotic, addictively paced, and hilarious in a completely unhinged sort of way. The Ace hardback editions each contain an exclusive chapter of a long-running behind-the-scenes novella set inside the dungeon called Backstage at the Pineapple Cabaret, which is an awesome bonus. I've also backed the Kickstarters for the special editions of these books, so I'll show you book 1 here, since it came out this year. It's got a double-sided dust jacket, a fancy prismatic foiled cover, and some fun spot illustrations throughout as well. And here's a bit of a throwback to the original LitRPG Dice Rolling Choose Your Own Adventure. It's a collector's edition of the first fighting fantasy game book, which finds you heading into Firetop Mountain to find treasures guarded by a warlock. I'm sure they'll come up with something a bit more fancy in a few years for an anniversary, but this one's got some pretty cover artwork and a nice map on the back. Sticking with the gaming theme, I wanted to showcase Inside Edition's beautiful The Art and Making of Arcane, which is filled with incredible illustrations and concept art from the Netflix series set in the world of League of Legends. It includes the art development process, interviews with the creators, a bright pink acetate dust jacket, and heaps of fantastic removable pieces, including posters, maps, blueprints, letters, and fold-out spreads as well. And we'll finish with a bit of Romantasy. The Wicked King is the second collector's edition in Holly Black's Folk of the Air trilogy. These are really luxurious and tactile editions. They're covered in embossed black velvet. They've also got black sprayed page edges, a bound-in ribbon bookmark. They come in a slipcase. The front and back end papers have different illustrations, and they've got bonus content with an alternate first chapter. The Folk of the Air series is set in a dangerous fairy court where a mortal girl called Jude has been raised by immortals, and across the series she's pulled into palace politics, betrayals, shifting alliances, and a tense, sharp-edged romance. It's great. The Shepherd King duology is a moody, gothic-leaning fantasy built around the idea of providence cards as the basic of the magic system. Powerful cursed objects tied to rhyme, cost and consequence. In the Mistlock Kingdom of Blunder, that magic comes with rot in its roots. There's a dangerous infection in the population, and the only real hope of changing the kingdom's fate lies in completing a full deck of cards. These special editions have decorative sprayed page edges, foiled boards and illustrated end papers. Grim and Oro by Alex Astor is a companion to her Lightlark series, and it binds 2 novel-length stories into one book, Tet Besh style, so you have to flip the book over to read each story. They share stories from 2 different points of view, and if you haven't read the rest of the series, it would probably spoil earlier events for you. It's called the Dueling Crowns edition, and it's beautifully put together with a slipcase, foiling, decorative sprayed page edges and illustrated end papers. And we're going to finish with this spectacular edition, which is one of several 20th anniversary books celebrating the first volume in the Twilight saga by Stephenie Meyer. And whatever you think of it, love it, hate it, love to hate it, it's hard to deny how much it shaped modern young adult romance. This edition is truly fantastic. It's got a foiled slipcase, illustrated end papers, interior art, but the real way they've made this a standout edition is the 2-way hidden 4-edge artworks hidden under the gilded page edges. I have always wanted a book with a hidden 4-edge, but it's always been outside my budget. So I'm beyond thrilled to own this one. The sequel, New Moon, is coming out next year with the same fantastic edge treatments for different artwork, so I'll link that one below too. Thanks for joining me on this little tour. There are a few more titles in the article that didn't make it into the video if you want more. I'd love to know what your favourite fantasy reads were this year. Thanks so much for watching. The next video in the series will be up soon, so do please subscribe if you want to be notified about my reviews. Till next time, bye!